Yo, what's up, YouTube? It's Richawd back with another video. I think this is a pretty important topic to talk about, bro. Just the whole state of people when it comes to, coping with things. I think I think coping is something that's necessary, but it's it's a double-edged sword. It can be used to your benefit or it can be used to your detriment. It can benefit you in ways, but it can also hurt you in ways. Really all coping is in its essence, bro, is, coming up with ways in your mind to give a reason or to give an excuse for why you don't care about something or why you don't let a certain thing bother you. It's a way for you to get through mentally. It's like, it's a way you manipulate your mind or trick your mind. Tricking is just a way of manipulating your mind to believe something is a certain way, whether it may be or it may not be. It could be a way of deluding yourself if needed, to your benefit. Because when it comes to coping, man, you can either cope in a positive or you can cope in a negative way, the things that you do to your mind or to your body or to yourself to cope, because it's many negative ways that we cope. You can eat poorly, you can eat a bunch of junk food because it's sweet and gives you a little sugar rush, you can just do negative things. You can do lustful things. You can move lustfully. You can just be moving at a lower frequency if you want to give it, that phrase. You can just be moving at a low level, however you choose to cope, bro, is very important. And a lot of people are struggling to find that thing or what it may be for them to cope with life, because everyone has to cope in some sort of way with this life. Even the most fortunate out there have their struggles. Everybody has to cope with the fact that eventually our time is up. This isn't eternal. This isn't forever. This is just a phase. So you have to cope with the fact, even if you're rich, you have to cope with the fact that certain people are going to be gone one day. One day you're going to be gone. You gotta tell yourself things to cope and keep going and keep living and keep striving to keep, to be your best, to be at your best, to reach your potential, to maximize whatever you can be. You have to cope in your mind with these sort of negative connotations that can be taken upon yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you look at it the wrong way, or if you look at that glass half full rather than half empty, if you look at it as, oh, they're leaving us, or, oh, they had their time, they lived their time, I'm grateful for the time with them. Like, everyone grieves different, everyone grieves different. And a part of grieving is coping. At some point in the grieving process, you have to just start coping. You just have to start making up things in your mind so you don't care as much. Obviously, you still care. You're still hurt by it. But in order to move forward, when these thoughts come, you have to cope in some sort of way and be like, you know what, I'm past that. We got to keep moving. I can't worry about this. I can't keep worrying about this negative, this sad, this depressing thought that it is what it is. At some point in life with everything, you have to find a way to cope with life. When life hits you with shit, you got to have something that can help you cope with that, And, like I said, for every person that's differently. But the main thing is not, the fact that you're coping, it's not the fact, or it's really just about not beating yourself up about the fact that you have to cope with certain things. You know what I'm saying? It's just finding positive ways, positive thoughts, positive thoughts when negative situations happen. How do you address negative situations? How, what type of thoughts, what type of energy are you putting into your life, on a 24-hour, like when no one's watching type, John. Obviously you sleep, so I'm not going to say a 24-hour basis, but like all your time when you're awake, bro, like what are you doing? How are you thinking? What are you telling yourself? What are you thinking about yourself? What are you thinking about what you're doing that day? Are you present? This is something that I'm really trying to restructure my mind to be, because I overthink things and I relive traumas and all that is, bro. And I think about the future a lot, and I'm a historian, so I like learning about the past and all these things. It has to come with a balance, it has to come with a level of peace. You have to be at peace with the past. You have to be at peace with the future. What do I mean by that? A lot of people get depressed by the past. I've gotten depressed by my past. It can be depressing to look back on your past when you don't have peace with it. You have to find a level of peace with what's going on, and that's being present with it. When you're in the past, you're still in those past emotions, those past feelings. You haven't moved past it, so it still hurts you, right? But when you get present, now you can look back on the past and be at peace with that part of yourself, that phase of yourself, when you was doing wrong, when you was doing dumb things, when you was embarrassing yourself. You can be at peace with, you know what, I was in a bad headspace, I wasn't moving right, but I'm not going to let that define me. I'm not going to feel this embarrassment forever. I'm not going to feel this pain forever. I'm not going to keep suffering through this. I'm going to move past it. That's coping. Because in reality, you can in reality you can stay in that moment. You can stay in that did happen. That was embarrassing. You can stay in that state, or you can cope with the fact that state happened with being like, you know what? That was me. I did it. Oh, well, it happened. It was a part of me. Be at peace with it. It is what it is now. I'm not going to let this affect me anymore. Whatever you're going through in life, that may be hard to cope with, man. That's the mentality you got to get to. You got to manipulate your mind to your benefit. You got to pimp your mind to your benefit. To your benefit, because you have to cope to your benefit. What is going to help you cope to your benefit? I'm not going to tell people how to cope. All I'm going to say is you got to find a way where it can cope to your benefit. One of the things that I'm working on is vices and eating better. I was talking to a coworker and I was like, man, because I was hungry. I hadn't ate all day. And I was like, bro, I'm going to run up to Taco Bell and go get some food. And he was like, he one of these like real, and, he's in the know about certain stuff. So it's like, biblically and all that. So like, he was like, man, you can't be eating that junk, bro. Like that junk, like top 3 worst foods in America, worst fast food places in America. Like that meat, not even real. Like, man, you better off go to the grocery store, man, get you a meal, start cooking, bro. Like, he was like really stressing it to me, like on some real shit, bro. I'm like, yeah, man. I typically try to, man, but like, man, I'm just being lazy right now. If anything, I'm just hungry. I'm just trying to grab something right quick. That's right down the street. But he was like, man, like, bro, you shouldn't eat. He was just basically saying like, bro, you shouldn't eat that junk, bro. So man, I end up not even eating it, bro. I end up just going to the grocery store and getting me some beef Alfredo. You know what I'm saying? And warming that up, cooking that when I got home. But yeah, it's just like, that's a part of being present, bro. Like, I realized when I didn't want to go, when I didn't want to go to the store to get some food because I was being too lazy. That was me not being present. What made me lazy? What made me lazy was being out of the moment. I'm thinking in the future. I'm thinking of, man, I got to go on the grocery store. I got to go through all the, I got to go look for what I'm trying to get. Then I got to go buy it. Then I got to go home. Then I got to cook it. You feel me? Like, I'm not present no more. I'm thinking about what I got to do instead of what's going on right now. Now I done stressed myself out. Now I done drained all my energy because it's like I already did it in my mind, but I didn't even did it yet. So it's like you got to manipulate your mind to be present in the moment. What's happening right now, not what's going to happen, not what happened. What's happening right now? Right now, you just got off of work. All right, you ain't ate all day. Let's run to the grocery store, grab something to eat. When we get home, warm it up. You got to do things for yourself, bro, because the things you feed your body, bro, is very important, bro. A lot of this food, bro, you got to watch what you eat. And I'm starting to watch what I eat, bro. You'll be better off to starve another hour or two You know what I'm saying? Or it wasn't even no 2 hours. Yeah, like 2, because it took like an hour for that shit to cook. But you'll be better off to starve another hour or two. You know what I'm saying? Go to the grocery store and actually cook food than be lazy. And you know what I'm saying? Get the little 5-minute quick fix from Taco Bell or McDonald's or something, or Wendy's. Like all that junk gotta go, bro. I'm not trying to, come down on these people's brands, but I'm just saying it's studies that have been done on it. You can look it up. Don't just take Richawd's word. It's studied. Look up top 10 worst American fast foods. I promise you Taco Bell gonna be on there. Right up there with McDonald's in them. They're not giving y'all quality, fresh food. That's why it comes out so quick. You notice you go certain places like Five Guys. Five Guys expensive as hell, bro, but you be waiting a little minute, bro, and then when you get that food, them French fries is real. Them real potatoes. Them burgers is real juicy, and you know what I'm saying? The tomatoes and the lettuce, all that shit fresh, bro. So yeah, it costs more, but it's better, bro. But like, I just don't understand why we live somewhere, bro, where it's not even about having just an abundance of food, but it's about the food that niggas have should all be good, bro. It should all, my bad on the camera angle, it should all be good and nutritious, bro. It's a lot of food in these fast food places that don't even really give you real nutrition or protein, bro. You eating certain meats is supposed to give you proteins and all type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Vitamin C, vitamin whatever. All type of stuff to help your bodies, you know what I'm saying, stay refreshed. There's no reason you should eat food and get the itis, bro. That means the food that you're eating, isn't fueling the body. If the food isn't fueling the body, it's poison in the body. If you eat food and you don't get energy, that's the whole point. When you're hungry, you're supposed to feel sluggish and lethargic, when you're fasting. But while you eat some food and you feel lethargic and you get hungry quicker, because you're not getting solid nutrition, bro. But yeah, bro, I kind of went on a tangent about eating, but yeah, that's really something that's on my mind, bro. Like eating better, bro. Like, our health is everything, bro. Our mental state, you know what I'm saying? It'll help with fatigue. It'll help with all type of stuff, all type of health issues niggas be having, bro. You know what I'm saying? ED, all type of shit, like, bro, like your food, your eating habits, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll mess with your blood flow, all that, and also working out and stuff, But I'm going to close the video out on this, bro. I don't want this to be a long video. To anybody struggling to cope, bro, it's all about what you tell your mind, bro. And it's starting to get dark. It's all about what you tell your mind, How do you cope? It's all about what you tell your mind and how you cope with things, bro. The strongest people, the way they get through the tough times is by coping in some sort of way. Telling themselves something to make it okay with what they're going through, even though what they're going through is not okay. But telling yourself, you know what? I'm going to get through this. I'm going to fight through this, and things are going to get better. You're going to cope with whatever you're going through. So in that moment, you can live through it and fight through it. Because that's what it's going to be a lot in life, bro. We're going to be put in situations where you just got to live through it and fight through it. See it through. See the situation through. Don't give up, midway through when things start getting difficult, bro. See that shit through. See the storm through. Tell yourself, man, this is just a test that I'm a pass. Have that self-confidence, in yourself. That belief. That's what it's gonna take, bro. To see a situation through, to not give up, to keep fighting, bro. That's what it's gonna take. That's all coping is about. And anybody struggling to cope, bro, you're struggling to fight. You gotta keep fighting, bro. That's what it's all about. Fighting while we here. You fight and you battle. To conquer whatever issues, whatever problems this life will bestow upon you, bro. Because there's no escaping it, bro. There's no escaping the problems. It's just how it's set up right now. And it's how it's been set up for a while. So you got to find a way to cope, to keep going, to your benefit. Don't cope to your detriment. If your styles of coping has you just escaping from everything and not being present with it. And it's something that I've gone through, coping in certain ways where you're escaping it. You're not facing it. You got to face it. You got to be present with it. You can't hide from it. You got to face it head on, bro. and see yourself through that situation. Fight through it. You know, don't be afraid to fight. Don't be afraid to struggle and you know, have to tussle. You know, that's what life brings out of you. You know, and those who are willing to fight, it's a reward for that. You know, not only here, but in somewhere else spiritually. If you believe in that type of stuff, it's a reward for fighting, bro, for battling, bro, for living with the purpose, bro, for living with morals, with principles, for having guilt, for having a soul, for feeling bad for when you do wrong, you know, for feeling that guilt when you know you're not doing as good as you could be doing, when you know you slacking, when you know you procrastinating, that feeling of, man, I can't keep going on like this. You still are conscious and you have a soul about the things you're doing, you know. You're not just, there's not just emptiness there with these things, you know. You're not just moving and just doing shit, you know, with no feelings, you know. So it's good that you care, bro, but don't care too much where it's to your detriment, bro, you know. But hopefully y'all had a good Sunday, bro. It's getting dark out here, man. I just wanted to get that message out. But y'all be smooth, bro.